Off to the exotic east this week. Wonderful things and flavours, ladies' fingers and baby aubergines and breads and a sort of cornucopia of spices. Marvellous flavours, very easy to do though, surprisingly. It's not as complicated as it seems, even if you start from scratch. Now, to make a good curry, there are lots of different names for them, but let's call it a curry for the minute. You always start with onions and garlic, and what I've got is I've got a large onion and some garlic frying gently in clarified butter, or ghee as it's called. You can buy cooking butter in all supermarkets now. It's part of the butter mountain ways of preserving it and using it, and they've cleared all the moisture out of it. It makes a marvellous basis for this kind of curry. Now I'm going to make a spice mixture, what's called a garam masala. You can buy it ready-made as a mixture, or if you fancy, how about half a teaspoon of peppercorns, half a teaspoon of ground cumin. You can use whole cumin if you're feeling really brave. The same of cinnamon, a few cloves, 2 or 3 cloves, and some of this. This is cardamom. There are whole cardamom in front of the bowl, and I've just taken some of them out of the shell. Now, this is very therapeutic. Pestle and mortar. Just grind them up. You can use a spice mill on a liquidizer if you've got one. You don't have to do it by hand, but it does get rid of the old inhibitions. If you've had a bad day at work, it's a wonderfully cheering way of getting rid of your problems. When you've done that, you put the resulting powder into a bowl and you add a couple of things to it. This is coriander, dhania as it's called in India, and you need a whole teaspoon of that, and some of this. This is a chili paste. There are new generations of these just with a little oil on the market added to them now, and they're murderously hot but very delicious, and you need as much of that as you care to put in. My own view is that anything much more than half a teaspoonful and you'll start to feel the pain too much. Add to that a little water, not a lot, and you mix it to a smooth paste. Now this is because what you want to do is to fry the spices very gently for a minute or two before anything else much gets added to the curry, and that way their flavours come out and they don't taste raw when you've cooked them. So I'm going to add that to the onion and garlic, and I'm going to turn the heat up, and that's going to fry till it's quite dry and the paste has lost its moisture and the whole flavour, the whole thing starts to become fragrant, and that's what you need to look for, the smell of those spices turning fragrant. I'm going to add a pound of stewing beef cut up to that, and I'm going to turn that in there as well so that that mixes with and blends with the spices. It isn't to brown it, although that happens as well. It's to make sure that the spices get a good chance to blend properly before you add the liquid. If you don't fry them, however long you cook them, they're going to taste raw. Nothing you can do about that once the liquid goes in, so have the courage to fry them for a couple of minutes now. It needs also some salt, a good pinch of salt, because the flavours are generous and strong. And the moisture when I add it is going to be made with this. It's tamarind. It's the classic sweet and sour flavouring that's used all over the Indian subcontinent. You can use lemon juice and water if you like, but if you can find tamarind, it comes either in the raw block or processed like that, or even these days you can buy it in a jar like that, turned into a thing rather like Marmite to look at, and about as easy to use as well. So effortless to add some tamarind if you've got it, and the flavour and the colour it adds are quite considerable. Once you've got a fragrance, those cardamoms and the coriander coming off the pan, mix 6 ounces or thereabouts of liquid, tamarind or lemon, and add that. Now don't be tempted to add more, because this is meant to be quite a dry mixture. It's called in India Bhuna Gosht, or dry meat. And what happens is that the liquid cooks away quite quickly. You put a lid on it, put it in a medium oven for about an hour and a half. The temperatures are up there. It's not a hot oven, it's not a quick cook. And when it's had that chance to cook, it comes out fragrant, quite dry, and very delicious. Now then.
Given this marvellously rich cuisine and these lovely ingredients, I mean, they even sound like a litany, don't they? Why is it regarded as a slightly down-market dish, curry?
I think it's because, like many imported immigrant dishes, it was cooked quick and cheap by people who didn't realise that we were happy to have the exotic ingredients done properly. And of course, even nicer eaten with some raita salad and mango chutney. Now, I've got here